Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November Filet Crochet Square. This month we are making a leaf pattern for our 2024 Filet Crochet Calendar Crochet Along blanket. As always, I will put the graph up on the screen as I'm going through this tutorial, as well as have a larger size at the end of this video so you can take a screenshot if you find that's helpful as you're following this pattern. If you're interested in the written PDF version of this square, that will be available on Etsy, and I'll put a link down below in the description box if you're interested. I also have a bunch of other filet crochet squares that we've done throughout the year on YouTube as video tutorials, as well as the PDF pattern written out on Etsy. Without further ado, let's crochet the November leaf filet crochet square. For this square, I am using loops and threads. It is an acrylic yarn, so 100% acrylic, and this colorway is called Pumpkin, perfect for the fall. It's a 4-weight acrylic yarn like I've been using for every other square in this 2024 filet crochet blanket, and with this yarn, as always, a 4.5mm crochet hook. To start, we put a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to chain 48 chains. Once you have your 48 chains, we're going to work a double crochet back into the 4th chain away from your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, work a double crochet into that chain, that 4th chain away from your hook. We've got 2 double crochets, that counts as a stitch right here. Looking at the graph, we read all odd rows from right to left. So the first row, row 1, being an odd row, it's all shaded in squares, all blocks, which means all double crochets. So we're going to double crochet into each stitch now, all the way back down our chain. So just work 1 double crochet into each chain. At the end of row 1, you should have 46 total stitches. And our turning chain, or our chain 3, always counts as a stitch in this pattern. For row 2, if we look at the graph, we're going to be reading from left to right now, so all even rows we read left to right. So the graph says we start with 1 block. Now we're always going to chain 3 and turn to start every row. In the first block, we're going to work a double crochet over the next 3 stitches. A block consists of 4 total stitches, so that chain 3 counts as a stitch, and then we work a double crochet into the next 3. We've got 4 stitches for our first block. As you're working across the row, our next square is a space, and a space is also 4 stitches, but it's a double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next. The last stitch of that previous block counts as the first stitch of your next block. So we already have our double crochet done for our space. We're going to chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and double crochet into the next. And there we have a block and our space. So 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. This one is shared with this block here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Continuing on with row 2, we have a block. So we're going to double crochet over the next 3 stitches. And a space. So chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. So we've got block, space, block, space. Next we have 7 shaded in squares, so we need a double crochet over the next 21 stitches. After you've worked a double crochet over those next 21 stitches to get your 7 blocks, we now need a space, a block, a space, and a block. So we're going to work our space. We're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next. That's our space. For our block, we're going to double crochet over the next 3 stitches. For our space, we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. We end with a block. You should have 3 stitches left, and we're just going to work a double crochet into each of those 3 stitches, and that will complete row 2. For row 3, we're going to chain 3. That counts as a double crochet in our first stitch. We need 2 blocks, so we're going to work a double crochet over the next 6 stitches. So those first 3 stitches, there's my first block. We need 1 more block, and we're going to be working over those spaces now. So we want to work into the actual chain stitch, although if you find it's difficult to work into those chain stitches, then you can work into the chain 2 space, but you want 2 stitches in that space. So you wind up with 4 total stitches. Here's your first stitch. That was our last stitch from our first block. Counts as our first stitch for the next block. We work 3 more double crochets to get our second block. Next, we're working a space. So we're reading right to left because this is an odd row. So always remember which row you're on and which way you need to read the graph. It'll make your life much less complicated working these filet crochet squares. So a space, we chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next. Now we've got our 2 blocks and a space. Now we have 4 blocks, so we're going to work a double crochet over the next 12 stitches. Remember, over those spaces, those count as stitches. So we've got our first 2 stitches here. So I'm just going to work into those chains. 1 and 2, 3. There's my first block of 4. There's block number 2 of 4. Block 3 of 4. And I just need 1 more block, so a double crochet over the next 3 stitches. And 3, and there are my 4 blocks. We're now at the bottom of our leaf where that stem is, and we're just going to work 1 space. So chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet into the next. Next we have 4 more blocks, so I'm going to work a double crochet over the next 12 stitches to get my 4 blocks. We now need 1 space, so I'm going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next stitch to get my space, and we're ending with 2 blocks, so a double crochet over those next 6 stitches. Always remember that that last stitch, your turning chain, that chain 3, does count as a stitch, so you always want to work into that chain 3, the top of that chain 3. So we have rows 1, 2, 3. For row 4, we're reading the graph left to right. We're going to start with our chain 3 and turn. So we need 7 blocks to start, so you're going to work a double crochet over the next 21 stitches. Work your space over that previous space, and that is our stem going up to the top of our leaf. And then we end with 7 blocks on the end, so a double crochet all the way back. It should be a double crochet into those last 21 stitches. So just go ahead and work a double crochet over the next 21 to start row 4. After you've worked those first 21 double crochets, we're at our space. We're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. You can see that space sits right above the space that we worked for row 3. To continue on for row 4, we need 7 more blocks, so a double crochet over the next 7 stitches. Row number 5 is exactly the same as row number 4. So I'm going to go ahead and work the rest of row number 4, repeat what I just did for row number 5, and I will meet you back here and we'll work up row number 6. I've worked rows 4 and 5, and now here we are on row 6. Let's chain 3 and turn, and because row 6 is an even row, we're going to be working the graph left to right. We're going to be starting with 4 blocks, so we have our chain 3, and we're going to work a double crochet over the next 12 stitches to complete our first 4 blocks for row 6. After those first 4 blocks, we now have 7 spaces. So to work our 7 spaces, we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next stitch. That's 1 space. We're going to do that 6 more times. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. Got 3 spaces. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. 4 spaces. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. 5 spaces. 2 more spaces. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next, and 1 more time, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for our 7 spaces. We now have 4 blocks to work on the end, so that is a double crochet all the way back. It should be a double crochet into those last 12 stitches to complete row 6. For row 7, we're going to chain 3, and we're reading the graph right to left now. We start with 3 blocks, so we want a double crochet over the next 9 stitches. And now we need 2 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 2 times, so there's our first space, and once more chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2. We now need 1 block, so we're just going to double crochet into the next 3 stitches. It should be over a space, so work into those chain stitches, and there's our block. We need 3 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next 3 times. So 1, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next, and once more, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next 3 spaces. We're now working a block, so a double crochet into the next 3 stitches, two spaces, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next, there's 1 space, 1 more, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for our 2 spaces, and we end with 3 blocks, a double crochet over the next 9 stitches to complete row number 7. For row 8, we're going to chain 3, reading the graph left to right. We start with 2 blocks. We're going to work a double crochet over the next 6 stitches. We're now going to work 2 spaces, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next stitch. For our first space, do that again, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2. Now we need a block, so I'm going to work a double crochet over the next 3 stitches. We need 2 spaces, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next once, and do that again for space number 2. Next we need a block, so double crochet over the next 3 stitches, two spaces, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next for space number 1, and we'll do that again, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2. We need 1 more block, so let's work a double crochet over the next 3 stitches to get our block. Two spaces and 2 blocks to finish row 8. So I'm going to work my 2 spaces, six stitches left on the end, so double crochet into each of those 6 stitches to create your 2 blocks on the end, and that will do it for row number 8. So there is row 8, and side note, row 8 and row 12 are exactly the same. So when we get to row 12, you will just work what we just did for row 8. For row number 9, chain 3, we are now reading the graph right to left, and we're going to start again with our 2 blocks. So a double crochet over the next 6 stitches to get those 2 blocks. We are now going to work 4 spaces. So chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next a total of 4 times. Got 3 spaces, do that 1 more time to get your 4 spaces. So I've got 2 blocks on the end here, 4 spaces. We're going to work 3 blocks, so we want a double crochet over the next 9 stitches. And that will give us our 3 blocks right in the middle. And 9, so there's my 3 blocks in the middle. I need 4 spaces. It'll match up with what we did over here. So chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 4 times. We have 6 stitches on the end that will complete our 2 blocks, so we want a double crochet into those next 6 stitches for our 2 blocks and to complete row number 9. Row 9, the one we just did, is exactly the same as row number 11. So when we get to row number 11, you're going to repeat what we did here for row number 9. For row 10, reading the graph left to right, we're going to chain 3 and turn. We are starting with 2 blocks again, so work a double crochet over those next 6 stitches, and that will get you your 2 blocks on the end. We're now going to work 1 space and then 1 block. So let's work our space, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next, and then 1 block, so a double crochet over the next 3, so we've got 2 blocks, 1 space, 1 block. We now need 2 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. Do that one more time, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for our 2 spaces. We're going to work 3 blocks now, so a double crochet over the next 9 stitches. After those 9 double crochets or 3 blocks, we're going to work 2 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next once, do that one more time, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2. We're going to work a block now, so a double crochet into the next 3 stitches, one space, so chain 2, skip those 2 and double crochet into the next. You should have 6 stitches left on the end. That counts as 2 blocks, so you're going to work a double crochet into those last 6 stitches to complete row 10. And we've got rows 1 through 10 completed. You can see the start of our nice leaf. I'm going to go ahead and work rows 11, 12, and 13. These rows are all the same as what we've already done. So for row 11, you're going to repeat row 9. For row 12, you're going to repeat row 8. And for row 13, you're going to repeat row 7. So from rows 7 through 13, with the exception of row 10, they're all repeats of each other. So I'm going to work rows 11, 12, 13, and I will meet you back here for row number 14. After you've worked rows 11, 12, and 13, you should have something that looks like this. We are now going to work row 14. For row 14, we're reading the graph left to right, and we start with 4 blocks. So we're going to chain 3 and turn. And we're going to work a double crochet over the next 12 stitches to get our 4 blocks. Next up, we have 2 spaces, so we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next 2 times. So there's the first time, do it again, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for our second space. We've got our 4 blocks, 2 spaces. We now need a block, so we're going to work a double crochet over the next 3. And now we need a space, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next for our space. Got a block, space. We need another block, so we're going to double crochet over the next 3 stitches. We now need 2 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next. It's 1 space. Let's do it again. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2. To finish row 14, we need 4 blocks. You should have 12 total stitches at this point, so work a double crochet into those last 12 stitches to complete row 14. For row 15, we are now going to read the graph from right to left, and we start with 5 blocks. So we're going to chain 3 and turn, and we're going to work a double crochet over the next 15 stitches. Next, we need 5 spaces, so we're going to work our spaces, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next, a total of 5 times. Once you have your 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you should have 15 stitches on the end. That will create your 5 blocks. So just work a double crochet into those last 15 stitches to complete row 15. For row 16, we are reading the graph left to right. We always start with a chain 3 and turn, and we need 6 total blocks. That equals a double crochet over the next 18 stitches. So work your double crochet into each of the next 18 stitches to start row 16. After those first 6 blocks, we're going to work 3 spaces. So chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next once. We need to do that twice more. So chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for space number 2, and once more chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next for space number 3. You should now have 18 total stitches on the end, which will equal your 6 blocks. We're going to work a double crochet into each of those 18 stitches to complete row 16. For row 17, now reading the graph right to left, we start with a chain 3 and turn. We're going to work 7 blocks. So you need a double crochet over the next 21 stitches. We now need 1 space, and if you've noticed, this row 17 is a repeat of what we did for rows 4 and 5 down here. So just repeat row 4 and 5 for row 17. So I'm going to finish up row 17 working a double crochet over the next 21 stitches. For row 18, we're going to work very much in the same way as we did for row 3. We start with our 2 blocks, and we're reading the graph left to right. So we have 2 blocks, a space, and we're going to work blocks all the way across. For row 3, we had the start of our stem, so we created that space. For row 18, we are going to work double crochets, no spaces in the middle, all the way until we get to our space here on the end and finish with 2 blocks. So row 18, reading the graph left to right, we're going to start with a chain 3 as usual, turn, and work a double crochet over the next 6 stitches to get our first 2 blocks. Now we need our space, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the next for our space, and now here's where we work 9 blocks across, no spaces in the middle there, so just 9 blocks, which is a double crochet in the next 27 stitches. So go ahead and work 1 double crochet into those next 27 stitches. After you've worked a double crochet over those last 27 stitches. We're going to work our space. You should have 6 stitches left on the end. You're going to work a double crochet over those last 6 stitches for your last 2 blocks. So those are rows 1 through 18 completed. Row 19, reading right to left, is going to be the same as row 2. And I know they're, and even in an odd row, shouldn't match up, but these do because the pattern is exactly the same no matter which way you read the graph. So row 19, repeat what we did for row 2. You're going to have a block, a space, a block, a space, 7 blocks, 1 space, 1 block, 1 space, 1 block. For row 20, you can tell from the graph, all shaded in squares, all blocks. You're going to chain 3, turn, and work a double crochet over each stitch all the way across, sort of like we did for that first row working off of our foundation chain. And that will be our November leaf square. I'm going to go ahead and work rows 19 and 20, and then I'll be right back. And there you have it, the November leaf filet crochet square for our 2024 filet crochet blanket. Stay tuned because we have one more square to do, and that is our December square. So be on the lookout for that in 1 month. I also have just posted a tutorial on how to join these squares using the granny shell stitch. So if you're interested in joining the squares using that stitch pattern, I will link that in this video down below so you can check that out and start joining your squares if you want to. Of course, you can always join these in any way that you prefer with any border. They're all the same size, they all have the same stitch count, so you're just joining modular squares, or sort of rectangles in our case, together to create one big blanket. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Until next time, happy filet crocheting. Bye!